What isn't a cult but is definitely a cult? By now, talking crap about CrossFitters is beating a dead horse, but I'll never forget when I met the first culty CrossFitter I'd ever come across years ago at a friend's birthday party. So there we are in my friend's backyard having a few beers talking the shit when my friend's sister and her BF arrive, and he's dressed in tight gym clothes, which seems strange since it was like 11 p.m. but what do I know, maybe they came from a night gym session, especially since he was apparently drinking a protein shake instead of a beer or something. So the guy walks over to say hi to some of the guys I was talking to because he already knew them and they introduce us. So far so good. Of course, he starts trying to steer the conversation towards CrossFit and keeps trying despite the fact that nobody is interested in that subject or going along with it, and we're all talking about other stuff and joking around having a good time, and we did our best to humor him for a bit but avoid ending up in a lengthy conversation about CrossFit nobody but that guy wanted to have. A bit later I'm left alone with him while the others go for a refill and I try to make small talk but he interrupts me to ask if I know who some guy whose name I'd never heard and can't for the life of me remember now is, so I say I don't know who that is. He starts gushing about how he's this super awesome celebrity in the CrossFit world and starts doing all sorts of goofy contortions trying to position himself in a way that he gets enough cell phone signal to go online and show me some videos of this guy he admires doing CrossFit. I excused myself saying I had to go take a leak so that by the time I came back the others were already back too. The guy wasn't a bad dude or a douche or anything like that, but man, if your only conversation topic is that one hobby you have, it limits social interactions a lot when you're blind to the fact that not everybody shares your passion or finds your hobby particularly interesting. In response to the question, what isn't a cult but is definitely a cult? There are several examples that people may consider as exhibiting cult-like characteristics. Multi-level marketing, MLM companies. Some MLMs have been criticized for their aggressive recruitment tactics, cult-like devotion to the company and its leaders, and a focus on creating a tight-knit community that can isolate individuals from outside influences. Exclusive fitness or wellness groups. Certain fitness or wellness groups may display cult-like behavior by promoting a strict adherence to specific beliefs or practices, creating a sense of elitism, and discouraging members from questioning the group's ideologies. Fandoms. While many fandoms are harmless and centered around shared interests, some can exhibit cult-like behavior when individuals become overly obsessed, adopt extreme behaviors or beliefs, and develop an unwavering loyalty to the fandom or its leaders. Self-help or personal development programs. Certain self-help or personal development programs may exhibit cult-like characteristics by employing charismatic leaders, enforcing strict ideologies, demanding significant financial investments, and isolating participants from outside influences. It's important to note that categorizing something as a cult is a serious matter and should be done with careful consideration and thorough understanding of the specific group or organization in question. These examples simply highlight situations where individuals have noted cult-like behavior, but further research and analysis would be necessary to fully evaluate each case. Political parties. The Republicans, obviously, but I've found that the hard left qualifies to a degree as well. For example, has anyone reading this ever taken the time to look at the issue of abortion from the perspective of the baby? Imagine for a moment that you're watching a cosmic horror movie wherein the entire universe is actually God's pregnancy, but she's decided to abort. The characters naturally plead for their lives, but God simply responds with my body, my choice, and then the stars start going out. If you were one of those characters, how would you respond to that? Hopefully something along the lines of, well, yeah, back when there was no intelligent life in here, that would have been a valid argument. But now there are living, thinking people here, so now you're committing an act of murder. I trust most of the people reading this will see my point, but I promise you that if you post this in r/political memes, people will just think you're making the abortion bad because God said so argument. MMORPGs, especially in the endgame. I'll use FFXiv as an example. You show up to service, raids, every Friday night, and people question your commitment to the faith team if you miss a night. You tithe to the church, FC, by regularly putting money in the FC chest. If you want to stay relevant, you better have the latest gear and the latest expansion. They will keep you grinding because you need to grind the gear to play the raid, to grind the gear to play the raid, to grind the gear to play the raid. They will indoctrinate you by having you recite the same incantation over and over again to become more powerful, grinding the same content over and over again to gain levels, tokens, or gear. People will sometimes use their standing in the church FC/game, to have an undeserved sense of superiority over people who haven't come that far yet, or simply don't want to be that hardcore about it. Seriously, MMORPGs are so easy that %95 of the time you can play them while paying more attention to YouTube or Netflix. Imagine feeling accomplished over being that much of a tool. On top of all that, you pay them for the right to play it unless it's so old, mediocre, or unpopular that they have free content. There is this church in my hometown. A friend of a friend invited us to it. Off the start, I noticed strange things like referring to all the slanderers as one singular slanderer, aka said Satan more than a name like Lucifer, and how people who didn't hand a percentage over of their income they were material sinners, etc. I just wrote it all off as dumbing it down for the crowd. A week went by, and a family meme bet joined, then another, and then the church started singling people out who would buy in, aka people like me. The pastor of the place pulled me to the side and I attempted to have a conversation with him. He told me the years of religious studies I had with Catholic clergy and Baptist churches were Satan's work. I'm no longer allowed, but I'm okay with it. And thanks to that place, I'm occasionally dubbed a fake Christian by people I considered friends.